Many of us probably think that humans are everywhere on this planet. There are billions of us. And it looks like everywhere you look, there are other people, and there is no place on Earth that is left undiscovered. But this is just not the case. The Earth is a massive place, and there are still a lot of places that are just as remote and far away as they were thousands of years ago. So the question now is, how far away can you actually get from every human on this planet? One of the most remote places on Earth that is actually inhabited by people is an island called Tristan da Cunha. This small island has a population of just 264 people, and while you are there, the closest other population of humans will be located 2,000 kilometers away on the island of St. Helena, which is also pretty remote. The nearest continent to you would be Africa, which would be an astonishing 2,400 kilometers away. There is obviously no airport on the island, so the only way out would be a boat. And the boats that come from South Africa only come 7 or 9 times in an entire year, so you better have your own boat. And even then, the nearest airport would take you 7 days to reach. Now let's imagine you are placed in the center of Devon Island, which is part of the Canadian archipelago. Devon Island is the largest uninhabited island on Earth and is located in the Arctic archipelago. It is the largest uninhabited island in the world, covering approximately 55,000 square kilometers, which is slightly larger than Croatia. The island is characterized by rugged terrain, including mountains, valleys, and glaciers. Much of its landscape is barren and rocky, with a polar desert climate prevailing across much of the island. Devon Island has absolutely 0 people living on it. Nobody. Walk in any direction and you will never find a living soul to help you. The closest humans would be on the island next door, in the town named Resolute, with a population of 229 people. But still, don't be tricked. That island is 80 kilometers away from the island that you're on. A lot of people think that the South Pole has to be one of the most remote and faraway places on Earth. However, that used to be true. But today, the South Pole is home to the research station, which is always staffed by 100 scientists. But the place in Antarctica, which is way more remote and way more difficult to get out of, is this spot right here. It is located 878 kilometers away from the research stations, which would be the nearest human from your location. The last time humans visited this place was back in 2011. However, this isn't the most remote part of the Earth. That distinction has to go to the island named Bouvet Island. Bouvet Island is considered one of the most isolated places on Earth. It is difficult to access due to its remote location and harsh weather conditions, including frequent storms and heavy seas. Bouvet Island is an overseas territory of Norway. However, there is no permanent population on the island, and it is not inhabited by humans. The nearest piece of land to you would be Queen Maud's Land here, off the coast of Antarctica, at 1,600 kilometers away. But that island is also uninhabited, so there is no use going there. The nearest human to you would be on the island that is now very familiar to us, named Tristan da Cunha, which would be 2,260 kilometers away. For reference, that distance would be about 54% of the distance from the west coast of the United States to the east coast, with no other humans in sight, just to get to the most remote inhabited place on Earth. The ocean is enormous and far bigger than any of us realize. This point in the Arctic Ocean, for instance, is the furthest point in that ocean from any land. It is located on a shifting pack of ice, and if you ever were to reach here, the closest inhabited land would be Ellesmere Island, in Canada, home to a population of only 146 people. The closest actual settlement on that island, Grise Fjord, would be 1,638 kilometers away from you at this point. Still, no one has actually reached this point in all of history, so if you want to become an explorer and put your name down in the history books like Magellan, then get out there and reach it first. And finally, the most terrifying of all, the most remote place and furthest away from the rest of humanity, which most likely you can never achieve, is very deep in the Pacific Ocean. Point Nemo, also known as the Oceanic Pole of Inaccessibility, is a location in the South Pacific Ocean that holds the distinction of being the farthest point from any landmass on Earth. It lies around 2,688 kilometers from the nearest land. Let's put that into perspective again. That is about 64% of the distance from the United States West Coast to the East Coast, with not a single other person and just empty ocean. The record for the fastest time that anybody has ever made it to Point Nemo was on a boat, and it took 15 days, 10 hours, and 37 minutes to reach, plus that same amount of time to get back where they started from. It's very crazy to think that if you were at Point Nemo, sitting in a boat, the closest human to you would actually be the astronauts on board International Space Station as they orbit the Earth above you. In fact, the space station would be the closest to humans to you at several of these locations as well too, but here especially. The fastest anybody could possibly reach you is 15 days, and on top of everything, the city of Rolia is located not too far from this point, so you may have far worse things to worry about than just isolation. Thanks for watching. Press the like and subscribe button if you want to unveil more things.